You can be living paycheck to paycheck, even if your paycheck is ginormo, right? Like I know people who live from 7-figure launch to 7-figure launch. That's a lot of money. And yet, without the nervous system capacity and the financial system capacity to actually hold and expand wealth, the money will just continue to pass through no matter how many zeros are at the end of those deposits and those paychecks. Welcome to Plenty. I'm your host, Kate Northrup, and together we are going on a journey to help you have an incredible relationship with money, time, and energy, and to have abundance on every possible level. Every week, we're going to dive in with experts and insights to help you unlock a life of plenty. Let's go fill our cups. Hello, welcome back to our 7-part series about expanding your prosperity, your peace, and your pleasure. So expanding your financial experience with peace and pleasure. This is about being good with money, doing good with money, and feeling good with money. And so I've got something that you might feel like is not true at first. It may be annoying, but this is a conversation that I have over and over again with our community, and we're nailing it home today. If you truly understand and embody and practice what I am teaching you, you become limitless in terms of your experience of abundance and heaven on earth. So here it is. Making more money will not solve all your money stress. What? So here's the thing. If someone is food insecure, housing insecure, for sure, more money is going to make a huge difference in their quality of life. But what the data shows us is that up beyond a certain amount, which at the last time I checked was about $70,000 US in terms of household income, whatever that equivalent is in your country, having more money does not significantly increase someone's happiness, someone's sense of well-being. And yet, we are all conditioned to be out here doing everything we can to make more and more money. And the problem is, at least for folks in our community, what I see is the following. People try to cover up a lack of financial systems, a lack of a healthy financial relationship with just making more money. So it's like, I feel financial stress and pressure. If I just make more money, that's going to go away. I feel like I'm not enough, like I have a lack of worth. If I just make more money, that's going to go away. I feel lonely or disconnected, or like I'm not enough in my friend group, like I don't have enough status. I don't have enough, of like that feeling of status and keeping up appearances. If I just make more money, that's going to go away. I don't feel calm. I don't feel secure. I don't feel free. I don't feel supported. I don't feel held. I don't feel fundamentally safe. I know I'll just make more money and that's going to solve it. But here's the thing. I have talked to so many high earners, and you may be like this as well. And these high earners inevitably say the same thing, which is that if there's a feeling that there's never enough, if there's a fundamental core lack consciousness, if there's a fundamental core patterning around scarcity, no amount of money is ever going to make you feel like it's enough. And our culture is a culture of more is more. That once you get the right car, once you get the right body, once you get the right man, once you get the right house, once you get the right woman, once you get the right job title, once you get, your 10K months or your 20K months or your 30K months or your 100K months or your 200K or your whatever, once you get there, then you will finally feel like you have arrived. The thing is, there is no there. I had the chance that I happened to be born into a family where I was around a lot of the biggest names in personal development and spirituality growing up and in my 20s. Because my mom, was a well-known author and speaker in the women's holistic health world. And so I grew up behind the scenes at the speaking gigs with all the people who people looked up to as their gurus, as the people who had it all, as the ultimate, this person has all the success, they've made it, that's, they've got it all together. It's perfect over there. And I can just tell you that nothing gets us out of being human. Having been behind the scenes over there where there was a lot of visibility or high earning or a lot of public status, I can just tell you that there's not one person who gets out of this life without having the experience of being human. No amount of money gets us out of being human. No amount of status gets us out of being human. And so the lie is that adding more money will relieve the stress and pressure. The lie is that there's some sort of there, that once you get to a certain place, you can finally exhale. But here's what I want you to know. We have to build the neural pathways in order to feel the way we want to feel now without anything needing to change in our financial lives. Zero changes. We need to learn how to feel and be the way we want to feel and be now. No changes in our external environment. And then when we do, it's so freaking wild. It blows my mind. It continues to blow my mind, even though I've been practicing this for years, how when we shift what's going on inside us through intentional nervous system healing, through community, through coaching, through journaling, through the strategies and practices that we practice inside our programs, when we do that, the external world shifts every single time. Now, I want to share a personal story about this. You may have heard it, but if you're new to me, maybe you haven't. So 2021, Mike and he's my husband and business partner. We moved to Miami somewhat under duress. It was still in the pandemic years, and Mike was really sick for the second time with something he had been dealing with since probably 2016, but it got really bad in 2018. Then he got healthy again. Then in 2021, January, his health took a major turn for the worse again. And it manifested as full body eczema, his skin peeling off over and over again, just raw, deeply painful, deeply painful. He lost 40 pounds and he could barely function. And it was a very tough time for our family because also we had 2 young children and he's my business partner. And so I felt all this stress and pressure around earning and keeping everything together as the primary parent and the person leading the way in the business at the time. And so we moved to Miami, and now suddenly we were paying for our home and our life in Maine while simultaneously paying for this new life in Miami that included, a new apartment and private school and all these expenses that were, that were here now that I hadn't expected. I felt such a deep sense of stress, such a deep sense of pressure. I mean, having a loved one, having my partner be so sick to begin with is enough. Having 2 small children is enough. Having moved to a new city is enough. Being in a global pandemic and the way that was playing out in the world is a whole other thing. And then also needing to keep things going on the business front was another thing. So it was a lot of stacking of layers of stress. At the time, I was in a loop. And that loop was, if my husband could just get well, and if he could just bring home a bunch of money, everything would be fixed. I could finally exhale. I could finally feel safe if my husband was well and he was earning really well. So it was conditional, right? It was I had my well-being conditionally dependent on external circumstances. And our therapist, David, had me do an exercise where he said, okay, Kate, close your eyes, go inside, and I want you to imagine that Mike has just come home and said, babe, I just made $10 million. So now you don't need to work right now. We don't need to do anything. And David said, now how do you feel inside? And the magical thing about our bodies is that they don't have a sense of time. They do not have any sense of past, present, or future, which is the underlying science of why visualization works for Olympic athletes and high performers of all kinds. Visualization really changes our outcomes because according to our brain and nervous system, what we are imagining happen has happened. So the neural pathways are actually changing when we use our imagination, which means we need to use our imagination wisely. Back to my story. I close my eyes, I imagine, and I was absolutely shocked by what my body felt like. Because when presented with what I thought I wanted, which was a huge financial windfall coming from my husband and for him to be well, what I actually felt was dead inside. I felt flatlined. I felt like I felt like really, really bored. And like to the point it's like really, really bored, like life had no meaning. And after some further exploration, what I realized is this response, which was super surprising because of course I expected to feel elated or relaxed or relieved. You know, those would all be like quote unquote normal responses to your husband coming home and being like, I just made $10 million. But I didn't feel those ways. And I believed my body because our body always tells the truth, whether it is in response to something that happened or something that we imagined has happened. And our intuition for many of us will show up in a physiological response, in a feeling in our bodies. And so what I realized was that when the stress and pressure of financial stress was relieved, I felt dead inside. So I was using financial stress and pressure as a stimulant. I was using financial stress and pressure as my primary fuel source to make me feel alive. And I was like, shit, that is not sustainable, especially not with 2 little kids. And I had just had my own blood work done and my numbers were not good. My functional medicine doctor was like, girl, he doesn't talk like this, but basically he was like, girl, your brakes are broken and so is your gas. And if you do not do something to heal your body, you are going to get really sick. And I knew that our family could not withstand 2 sick parents with 2 small children. So I was like, I better make a shift here. And I'm telling you all of this because then what I did next is really important. And this is an invitation for you to look at how you can apply this to your own life. I took 90 days. And I did an experiment where every time I could feel that ramp up of, I got to run this campaign. I got to go out and make more money. I have this marketing idea. What if we invited our students in this way? What if we, did this social media campaign? What if we, I was operating from I gotta, let's do it. And I had been operating from that perspective for a long time because I grew up in a household where financial stress and pressure was just the general vibe. It was just the general vibe. My parents always felt financial stress and pressure, even though they were high earners. But it was a super achievement focused environment. And it was always about, I'm up against a deadline. I got to do more. There's always more to do. We're always a little bit behind financially and time wise, always I have so much to do and that money's already been spent. So now I got to make more. And so I gave myself 90 days that every time I felt that ramp up energy, I would just relax instead. And now relaxation did not exactly feel good. So I want to highlight that our bodies, our brains and bodies, our nervous system will choose a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven. So I was choosing stress and pressure unconsciously at every opportunity because it felt familiar. But in order to repattern so that we can actually have our desires, we need to signal to our bodies that we're safe when we're choosing something new. And it may be uncomfortable. It probably will be uncomfortable. So for that 90 days, I cried on the bed. I felt the profound discomfort of sitting still when everything in me wanted to ramp up and write a million email campaigns and work to cover over all the feelings that needed to be felt. I had been through a really scary several years. My family had been through a really scary time, and I hadn't had the space, wherewithal, support, or capacity to feel all those feelings. So I had a lot of backlog of anger and grief and fear that I had just tamped down and suppressed because I didn't feel like I had the time to feel it. I felt like the whole world was on my shoulders. And if I was even to go there, I was afraid that everything would fall apart. And so during this 90 days, I gave myself permission. I screamed in the closet into a pillow. I cried. I watched daytime television in the dark. I sat down by the edge of the water and just felt the emptiness inside myself and asked the ocean, and spirit for support. What message do you have for me? And the message kept being just rest. Just rest. And everything in my body was like, no, I have to just make more money. I can't rest. My husband's sick. And then he broke his freaking knee in the middle of all of this. So also then he couldn't walk. And I was like, I can't rest. I have to make money. I have to make money. I have to do. But I was just like, okay, for 90 days, I'm just going to try something new. And here's what I want to tell you that happened. After 90 days, we hit all our financial goals. Without my ramp up energy, without my pressure and anxiety, without my hyper activity around work, without my overworking, overdoing, being in we gotta go, rushing, doing, we still hit all our financial goals. Now, here's what's important. Our income went down that year. It did. So we hit our goals. Everything, we had what we needed, but our income did decrease. Our social media numbers went down a little bit, and so did our email list. But I will tell you what increased that year was my capacity to feel peace. And the value of that is so much higher than any amount of money. So that was 2021. 2021, I invested 90 days to repattern my nervous system so that I could actually withstand stability. And even though our revenue went down a little bit, What went up was my feeling of peace and safety and prosperity, and the depth of knowing that my source of safety was inside, that I could tap into it at any time, that I could plug that cord into source at any time. And the value of that is infinite. And then here's what's really cool. Because when we do the internal work, the external world shifts to reflect it. Life is a hologram, and it is a pure reflection of our internal environment. So you want to change what's going on externally, you change what's going on internally. It really works every time. So then 2022 comes along and I make some radical decisions. We make some radical decisions. We decide to close down my mastermind that I was charging $50,000 for at the time. It would sell out every time. I had no problem filling it. And the women were absolutely a joy and a delight to serve. However, it just felt like it was time to be done. So the women who had enrolled, we reimbursed them and we shut down the offer. We also closed our membership, which we had had for 6.5 years. Now, those two revenue streams put together represented 7 figures in revenue. And at the beginning of 2022, we decided to shut them down. We did not know explicitly. No, it was the beginning of 2023. Is that true? Now I'm getting my wires crossed. Doesn't matter. Lesson is the same. Ultimately, what happened is in 2022, our revenue went up by 50%. So 2021, it went down a little bit compared to the previous year. But 2022, it went up by 50 freaking %. And then we made some radical changes. We released $1 million in offerings in terms of revenue and trusted that it would be replaced. And what ended up happening is then our revenue increased pretty dramatically. We had our first multiple 7-figure year in 2024. It had gone up quite a bit in 2023. And then here, oh my gosh, I don't even know numbers. See, here's the great thing. You don't have to be good with numbers and timelines in order to be good with money. It was 2024, we came in at just under 3 million. 2023 was our first multi-7-figure year, and 2022 was the year that we had increased our revenue by 50%. Now, all of that was because I did internal healing work, and so did Mike, so did my husband, so that we could find our source of safety and security on the inside. And then more money came in. But the illusion is that more money is going to solve all your financial problems. And if you do not have the bedrock of the somatic body, the somatic capacity, the nervous system capacity to actually hold the charge of more abundance, it will just pass through. If you don't have the nervous system capacity, and if you don't have the financial systems in place to steward that money so that it gets earmarked in a certain way for different categories, for taxes and for, long-term savings and for investment and for all of the different things. Like if you don't have a system in place to care for and love your money, just like if you don't have boundaries as a parent, if you don't have routines, your kids feel unsafe and they act out and have behavioral issues. Our money is the same. It needs to feel safe. It needs to have systems, both your nervous system and your financial systems. And when you build both of those strong, when you do that in a way that's intuitive, that is aligned with who you are, that's aligned with your soul, that's aligned with the change you want to see in the world, what's so cool is that you already feel amazing, and then the money tends to follow. And when it does show up, it is able to go into the ecosystem of your life and the lives of those you touch and bless them, and not just like pass through so that it's like this windy hallway where it's just like, it comes in, it goes out, it comes in, it goes out. Because I know so many people who are stuck in a money in, money out cycle. And by the way, you can be living paycheck to paycheck, even if your paycheck is ginormo, right? Like I know people who live from 7-figure launch to 7-figure launch. That's a lot of money. And yet, without the nervous system capacity and the financial system capacity to actually hold and expand wealth, the money will just continue to pass through no matter how many zeros are at the end of those deposits and those paychecks. So, thank you for listening to my story. I hope that this has exhibited to you that adding more money alone will not solve your money stress. Healing your relationship with money, finding safety first, will absolutely allow you to unravel those patterns of deep financial stress. And then what's so cool is on the other side of that, as your revenue goes up or as your income increases, you have the capacity to actually enjoy the blessing of that abundance and steward it well. Thank you so much for listening. We have another episode coming up for you in this series. It is episode number 5, and it is about aligned wealth and creating luxury without sacrificing your well-being, your desire for abundance, and without sacrificing your long-term goals. So aligned wealth is next in the series. I'll see you for that one. What if managing money felt effortless? You've worked so hard to earn money, so why does it feel stressful? Well, I want to introduce you to something brand new that I've created called the Money Reset, because abundance starts in your body, not in your bank account. This free audio experience will help you rewire your nervous system for wealth, stop the money in, money out cycle, and create a foundation for true wealth, and relax into a new relationship with money. Plus, it comes with the 5-minute calm cash flow ritual, so you can have financial clarity and magnetism anytime you want. All you need to do to get the free money reset is go to katenorthrup.com/reset.